Half a year before television's new fall season is what they call selling season. During the so-called upfronts beginning this month, advertisers get a sneak peek at new shows and networks wheel and deal to keep commercial dollars from diverting to advertising in the digital media space. Holland Cooke is host of RT's The Big Picture and a veteran media consultant. Holland, so how do the new commercials play defense in this new world competing with digital?
Well, they've got to cut the clutter because we're just being bombarded with too many messages. And if you don't believe me, surf basic cable. Just sit there with a clicker and go TBS, TNT, USA, A&E, all of the free basic cable channels. I guarantee you, much more often than not, you will land on a commercial. The average on cable is 16 commercial minutes an hour. The average on network TV is 13 minutes an hour. And I think they realize that when people start paying not to see commercials, i.e. Netflix, Hulu,
HBO,
all the on-demand stuff, I think the networks are taking the hint because NBC recently announced they were going to cut total ad time 10%, and the number of units is going to get cut by 20%. And this just in, the Wall Street Journal, Fox has set a goal that by 2020, they're going to do 2 commercial minutes an hour.
Oh, my God.
Talk about upending the business model from 13 on air, 16 on cable, to 2 minutes an hour. It's the quality-quantity trade-off, and obviously, it's a better situation for the advertiser because you're not sandwiched in between a bunch of 10 and 15 and 30 and 60-second commercials, and you really kind of take ownership of the show you're in, like when TV was born and the sponsors owned the show.
I wonder if there's a bunch to unpack there, but I wonder if there's only a couple of commercials an hour, if you will save your necessary breaks, and you will definitely not be watching television at that time. And I also wonder, you're not just a television host and a media consultant, you spent a lot of time in radio, Holland. I wonder if they took a cue from the half-hour rock blocks on radio, where they really advertise, that radio advertises that they're going to go commercial-free. Do you see that in the future for television? Well,
they seem to be inching in that direction, but radio stubbed its toe because they made the commercial the bad guy. They promised that they'd only do a couple commercials. And what kind of message does that send?
Then a commercial comes up and you're, I'm the advertiser and you've just dissed me.
Yeah, exactly. And how would you like to be at the end of that 30-minute rock block where they're running 6 minutes of commercials? How'd you like to be advertiser number 5? Yeah. So this clutter is the bane of commercial broadcasting. And radio stubbed its toe several years ago with a campaign called Less is More, where they convinced advertisers to do 30-second commercials instead of 60-second commercials. And a lot of advertisers left local radio and went to network radio, which is much cheaper, and the listener got clobbered with 12 commercials in a row instead of 6. And that's why I think TV is making a mistake going to 10s and 15s. What they've got to do...
But they are moving in that direction down to the shorter commercials, not the 30 seconds that the minute and the 30 seconds we're used to.
Yeah, it became a problem in radio because the ear hears commercial units. Will the eye see the same thing? 4 30-second commercials may as well be 4 60-second commercials. You had to watch 4 commercials.
That reminds me of that old Bruce Springsteen song where he says, he was watching TV with his wife, and he says there's 57 channels and there's nothing on. Now, that song was recorded back in 1992. Human Touch album,
yeah.
Not that I'm a fan. But when the boss wrote that, 57 channels seemed like a lot. But now there's basically 100 free channels. Then there's several hundred, as you describe it, advertising channels. And then there's, I don't know, depending upon what package you have. But by the way, if you have DirecTV, channel 321 is what you want.
That's us.
That's us.
Dish 280.
Okay, I'm glad together we got them both. But my question is there so much content out there, whether or not it's advertising, free, or pay, that people just don't have the bandwidth to watch television television anymore, and if they are, they're not going to choose commercials. Are commercials obsolete?
The good commercials are not, and if you haven't seen it on TV, you can find on YouTube a very touching, wistful Volvo commercial. The lighthouse owner is a 50-ish guy who's marrying off his daughter, and he's scribbling tearfully in his journal. There's nothing about rack and pinion steering, because people don't buy what you do, they buy who you are and why you do it. And I will stop chewing to watch that commercial. But the hollering car dealer with the flashing graphics is what's chasing people to YouTube and on demand and all of that. And people have taken control in that if they're not sitting still for your show at 4, they know they can find it when they want it on YouTube. So as you said earlier on, the media are now playing defense because the consumer knows that he and she are in control.
Holland Cooke, host of The Big Picture, we appreciate what you do and why you do it. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.